So I'm a simple worship musician, and most of my guitar time is spent playing on Sunday mornings. And because of this, I've owned several different guitars that all sound great for worship, but one that I've never owned was a Gretsch. So I wanted to figure out if the Gretsch is really worth it. So I started looking online to see which ones I could find, and after doing some research, I quickly found that Gretches can be quite expensive, especially for higher end models or vintage models. This one in particular cost over 6 grand, and there's no way I'm going to spend 6 grand on a guitar that I play just on Sunday mornings. So that got me to thinking, can I buy just a cheap Gretsch guitar and upgrade it with some features that make it more comparable to the expensive models? So after doing some research again online, I found this affordable Gretsch model, and this one is actually made in China, and it's the Gretsch Electromatic Jet Club, and it comes in just about $250. So on Reverb I ordered it, and it came in just a few weeks later, and as I was unboxing it, I quickly realized I think I might like this guitar. Whenever I pulled it out, I expected a whole lot less quality than what it actually was, and to my surprise, it sounds pretty good too. I'm not going to do any sound tests in this video because I think sound is kind of subjective, because you can make any guitar sound kind of like what you want it to with effects and pedals and sorts. But after pulling this out, I realized it's very plain, so I started thinking again, how can I upgrade this? So after looking at a couple of different models, I realized most of them have a tremolo, and mine doesn't. They have some kind of accessory, which mine doesn't, and they have some kind of upgraded pickups. The only thing that's going to be different is the knob layout. That's one thing that I can't change, but I'm okay with that. So the first thing I wanted to do was find a tremolo, and I like this Bixby look. So I went online to Amazon to try to find a Bixby and quickly realized that some of these Bixbys are really expensive. However, you can find a Chinese-made knockoff for a whole lot less money than buying the actual Bixby outright. So I had to go online and find this adapter to make the Bixby actually fit on this guitar since it's an arch top. So I ordered the Vibromate for a Bixby B5, and it looks like it's going to work out just fine. Another thing that I wanted to order was the strap buttons that Gretsch has, and these are like a screw-on strap button. I thought they were pretty cool, so back to Amazon and a search for Gretsch strap buttons pulled up exactly what I wanted. And these are often pretty fancy and on higher end models of Gretsch, so I'm excited to put those on there. The next thing I wanted to do was look to see if I could find any pickups that I could upgrade. Now, I'm not real sure if I want to upgrade the pickups because it actually sounds pretty good, but I mean, why not? So I looked to see if I could find some for inexpensive prices, and yeah, I found one. So why not? We'll see. The next piece I wanted to look for was this handy banjo armrest that you see on most of the Penguin models. And again, back to Amazon in a search for banjo armrest, pulled up a couple of different options for me. So I found a pretty inexpensive one that looked nice, and that's the one that I went with. The last thing that I'm going to upgrade is going to be the tuners, because with a Bixby, I like to have upgraded Grover tuners. So when all the parts came in, everything looked pretty good. The knockoff Bixby looks pretty nice too. I just don't know about the mounting holes, if they're going to quite line up. We'll find out. Also got the Vibromate, which is pretty awesome, and again, hoping the holes line up for the Bixby and the Vibromate, but we'll see. Banjo armrest looks really nice. I put some felt pads in there just to make sure that the spacing is right on it, and I think it's going to work out just fine. The new Filtertron pickup looks pretty good. When I ordered it, I didn't realize that I was ordering the plug-in model, and so I might have to rewire that to actually get it into the guitar, but we'll see. The new strap buttons are also pretty awesome too. I really like the idea of being able to unscrew this and then screw it in to secure the strap in place. I think that'll work out great. And I also got the new Grover tuners, which I think is really going to help with tuning stability in conjunction with the fake Bixby that I have. Also got a new set of strings. I've been using this 10 through 46, and that's kind of my standard gauge. Alright, finally time to start putting this all together. The first thing I wanted to do was put the armrest on. And I had to shave a little bit off the bottom because it was kind of had a little bit of a lip on it that was cutting into the finish of the guitar, and I really didn't want that to happen. So I shaved that off with a grinder, and then after that it mounted up pretty good. So I moved around a couple of times and put my arm on it to try to figure out where I really wanted it to sit. And then after I found the location, I marked it with a permanent marker and then put a piece of tape over that. And then once that was secure, put another dot on top of that so I could tell where I needed to put the drill hole. And then after I marked that location, just put a little bit of a pilot hole in, and as soon as that was done, able to pull the tape off and then reveal the pilot hole for the actual screw that was going to be mounting the hardware. This whole apparatus mounts with just one screw, so I had to put a couple of pieces of felt underneath and on the inside of the actual armrest to make sure that it stayed stable and secure, because the last thing I wanted to do is put my arm on the armrest and have it be wiggling around every time that I'm playing. After that, it held pretty good and pretty solid in place, so I was happy with it. After it was mounted, I put my arm on it a couple times, strummed a little bit, just to see if it held into place, and I think it's going to be excellent. After that, I decided to go ahead and put the fake Bixby on, and to do that, I had to remove all the strings, and I cut them all off and pulled the tail block off as well. And after doing that, I'll be able to mount the Vibromate onto the guitar body, and then I can mount the fake Bigsby onto the actual guitar itself. So to do that, I had to pull out the mounting post for the hardtail, and then after that, the Bigsby will mount with the vibrato kit. So I had to open up the Vibromate, and this thing's actually pretty cool. It's super lightweight, made of aluminum, but it's very rigid, and so I think this will mount very well. Also comes with all the hardware that you possibly need, metric and SAE bolts, and for this one, I forget which one I used, but it mounted up pretty nice anyway. But to mount this, it was a pretty simple operation, just the 2 screws set into the mounting holes for the hardtail, and it sticks up just a little bit because obviously it's an arch top body, but I'm not really too concerned about that because it gives you the option to take it off if you want to and revert it back to the hardtail if you really wanted to. So after that, I grabbed the fake Bigsby tremolo and sized that up, and before I was kind of worried about where the mounting holes were going to be, and unfortunately, because this is not a true Bigsby B5, it is a knockoff, only 2 of the mounting screws actually held in place. The other 2 on the bottom didn't quite hold up, so that's alright. The spring is also a little bit too high, so I ended up shaving down the spring, and I cut about 2 rows off of it just to make it a little bit shorter and give me a little bit more of a lower action on the actual trim arm itself. Before, whenever the spring was in there, it was way high, but now it sits a little bit more flush with the body. With the string tension, I think it'll hold it a little bit closer to the body and not hang out there so far. So after that was installed, I wanted to move on to seeing if I was going to put this Filtertron pickup in the guitar or not. And to do that, I had to take off the back, and just looking at the wiring, it looks like your standard guitar wiring, nothing super crazy in there. And so again, I'm kind of undecided whether I wanted to put this in there or not. And as I started taking this guitar apart, I realized this has a mounted pickguard, and so to get to the actual pickup, the screws, I had to take off this pickguard, and so I started hacking away at that. After I got that off of there, I was able to access all 4 screws for the mounting plate for the pickup. And once I got that off of there, I took a look inside, and again, this is my first Gretsch, so after looking inside there, I started wondering, why is the wire not leading down the control cavity? Why is the wire leading up towards the neck? And then I quickly realized, oh, all the wires lead up towards the neck. And then I remembered, well, this is a Gretsch, so the pickup selector switch is on the top of the guitar, not in the control cavity casing. And so after that, I decided to see, okay, what's the configuration look like at the switch cavity then? So I had to take off the back of the switch cavity, and after inspecting and kind of looking around a little bit, it looks like it's going to be a lot of work to pull the wires all the way from the control cavity all the way back up, and then mount the ground wire all the way back down to the control cavity. So after that, I just buttoned it up, and I just kind of pretended that this didn't happen. And so I'm not going to put those on there. But I will mount the new strap locking buttons. And so to do that, I just simply removed the strap button on the bottom and pulled right out. And then it's the same hole configuration size for the new mounting strap. And it was a simple screw in and twist on the actual cap. And then once that was on, it was good to go. And these are smooth and efficient, and I like them a whole lot. So I switched out the top for the shoulder of the guitar, and once again screwed it in, and I think they came out pretty cool. I really like the look of them a whole lot. And the last thing that I needed to do was switch out the tuners for this guitar, and again I got some Grover tuners, and I spent probably a little bit more money on those just because I really like tuning stability. And again, with the fake Bigsby, I'm taking the gamble to try to assume that I'm going to get some kind of stability and tuning out of it, but just to minimize that risk of just totally unstable tuning, I went ahead and got the Grovers. And these are just drop in and replace, and they have the same look, the same feel, the same aesthetic as the previous tuners, but just a better tuning machine altogether. And finally, time to slap on the strings. And again, I've never had a Gretsch before. I've had guitars with the same type of tremolo on it before, and every time that I work on them, I wonder why I put myself in this position, because mounting these strings is always a challenge. And it's like solving a Rubik's Cube sometimes. It's not that difficult, but it's just a pain whenever you mess one string up and then you got to go back and remount it, and then you lose track of it and you have to set it back up again. But a friend of mine taught me this trick a long time ago. Thread the string and then capo the string on the neck, and that'll help you tune it up a whole lot easier without string slippage all over the place and the ball end of the string getting off of the actual tremolo arm itself. So this works out a whole lot better, and so this is what I do every time. But I was able to mount everything up fairly easily, and it felt like I had to repeat this process 100 times. But after that, it was finally done, and it was ready to be revealed.